Welcome back to another episode of Murder, Mysteries, and More. My name's Kaylee.
And this is Patrick.
But just kidding. My name is Desi.
And don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell next to the subscribe button to turn on post notifications. Before we get into this case, we always encourage those who have useful information for any unsolved case to please report to your local police and sheriff department. This video is not recommended for persons under the age 18 years old. The video will contain graphic details and will be talking about difficult topics. If you cannot handle this or you are under 18 years old, please click off now.
Ireland is a country known for its beauty and attractions that bring many from around the world. But unfortunately, Ireland is also known for a tragedy that happened in the 80s and 90s. Today we will be diving into the Ireland's Vanishing.
So the Ireland's Vanishing Triangle is located in the eastern part of Ireland. It is an 80-mile wide area outside Dublin. Women ranging from teenagers to women in their late 30s went missing in this area. Unfortunately, no clues or evidence was ever found despite large-scale searches. Some of these women were also murdered, the remains believed to be buried in remote fields, bogs, or forests in the surrounding area. Due to similarities in the cases, it is believed that this may be the result of a serial killer. Or there could be even multiple killers involved who were active during this period. The Gardai National Police set up a task force in 1998 to focus on the disappearances and murders. But to this day, they have failed to turn up any evidence. Gardai even set up a $10,000 reward, but nobody has came forward with information. And 10 women went missing, 3 women were found murdered, and only 6 are featured on the unofficial list created by the Gardai during the original investigation.
And of course, we're going to be covering these 6 women because they were very famous at this time when they went missing. The first victim being Annie Bridget McCarrick, who was born on March 21st, 1966, and she was a Long Island native until her move to Ireland in 1987. She was the only child of John and Nancy McCarrick, and the day before her disappearance, she attended the St. Patrick's Day parade with her friends. Annie worked as a waitress at Cafe Java and at Donnybrook, a courtyard restaurant, at the time of her disappearance. Annie had left her apartment in Dublin for the day to go to the Wicklow Mountains alone. The last confirmed sighting of her was on March 26, 1993 at 11 a.m. when she visited the Allied Irish Bank in Sandymount, where she withdrew money from her account. Witnesses say that she was possibly seen on a bus around 3:40 p.m. and Ranelagh heading towards Enniskerry. Witnesses also claim to have seen Annie between 8 and 10 p.m. that night at Johnny Fox's pub, accompanied by a young man who was wearing a wax jacket. But nobody saw either Annie or her friend at the pub, and the man's identity was obviously never discovered. So, womp womp, unfortunate. But Annie was supposed to be seeing her friends the next day, but obviously she was not at home, nor did she come into work on the 27th. So she was reported missing that day and was never found or seen ever again. On March 24th, 2023, which was last year, 2 days before the 30th anniversary of her disappearance, Gardai had upgraded her case to a murder inquiry due to having 2 persons of interest, which they never disclosed anything about it, and they never gave us any information on whether they were cleared or responsible. So
Josephine Jojo Dullard was born on November 9th, 1995. There is not much information about her past except that she was from Callan County, Kilkenny, and she had returned after working in Dublin for 2 years. She was supposed to start a full-time job as a waitress the Monday following her disappearance. So on November 9th, 1995, Jojo traveled to Dublin by the bus to sign off social welfare. While in Dublin, she went to Bruxelles pub on Grafton Street with friends. Jojo traveled to Basara's bus station at 10 p.m., but she missed her bus home to Callan. She decided to take the bus to Kildare and Dismark at Nos. Instead, she hitched a lift to Kilcolin and then hitched a ride to Moon. While in Moon, Jojo used a phone booth to call her friend Mary Colin, and she wanted to see if she could stay in Carlo. Jojo interrupted the call and she said she had gotten a lift. Her sister Kathleen reported her disappearance after Jojo did not come home that night. Gardai took 2 days before they took this notification seriously, and there have been multiple sightings of her. Even a witness came forward in 1997 about Jojo being with 2 Englishmen in a red car at Kilmacow, and Gardai upgraded her case into a murder inquiry following a re-investigation in 2020.
Can I just say, kill my cow? Kill my cow!
A poor cow.
The officer, they killed my cow. Please help. It's so bad. When I was typing that, I thought that was so funny. I lost my shit. 25 at the time. Fiona Pender, who was 25 at the time, was the only living daughter to Sean and Josephine Pender at the time of her disappearance. Fiona worked as a hairdresser and a model. She had lived in Croydon, London, where she worked at a hotel before she moved to Ireland. She was 7 months pregnant at that time and living with her partner, John Thompson, in Tullamore. On the day of her disappearance, Fiona had spent the day with her mother going shopping for baby clothes. She was described as being very happy and looking forward to the birth of her child. Fiona was last seen on August 23, 1996, by John at their home in Tullamore, where he left to go work on his family farm. A friend visited the home later that day, but received no answer at the door, which was suspicious, of course. She was reported missing the next day after they found her passport, clothing, and credit cards left behind, and she never left without at least, clothes or her credit cards. Police believe that she left of her own accord and got into a vehicle with somebody, undetermined who, obviously, but John Thompson, her own baby daddy, along with his 3 sisters and his father, were arrested for questioning by Gardai in April of 1997, the following year after she went missing. They were released without charge, but still believed John to be a suspect in the case. In 2014, it was reported that the main suspect in Fiona's disappearance was arrested. Undisclosed who that was exactly, but this man was originally arrested for sexually assaulting and threatening to kill his wife, and his wife claims that her partner had threatened her and claimed to have killed Fiona. This led to further searches for Fiona that did not recover her body, unfortunately.
Ira Breen, 17 at the time, was last seen by her mother, Bernadette, on February 13th, 1997. There is not too much information about her life before that day. According to her mother, both had went to bed just after midnight after having a short conversation. That day they went to a local cafe for dinner and then returned home. At about 2 a.m., Bernadette gets up to go to the bathroom and discovers Ciara is missing. Ciara had left a window on the latch, and it is believed she did this so she could climb back in after sneaking out. Police consider this a case that Ciara decided to willingly leave her home to attend a pre-planned meeting with someone that night. In 2014, 2 credible witnesses came forward with sightings of Ciara the night that she disappeared. 2015, a man was arrested but released without charge.
Nothing's coming out for these women.
Nope, sadly not.
What the fuck? Fiona Sinnot, who was 19 at the time, was originally from Rosslare but resided in Broadway. Fiona was last seen on February 8th, 1998, leaving Butler's Pub in Broadway. And I'd just like to say, I think it's kind of like ironic that there's 2 women named Fiona that went missing.
Yeah,
like,
that is a little
That's
weird.
kind of weird, at least to me. She left the establishment with her ex/baby daddy, who was the dad to their 11-month-old daughter, and his name was Sean Carroll. According to Sean, he walked Fiona back to her house and Bally hit and had spent the night sleeping on her couch. The next day, Sean claims that Fiona woke up in pain and was planning to get a ride to the doctor later that day. But Fiona did not visit a doctor, and there were no records of her having gone to any of the local surgery places. She was not reported missing until February 18th due to her family thinking she was just traveling the country to visit people, because apparently she did that a lot and would go days without talking to anyone. Which I think, I get it, but I would still, be worried. That's just my thing. And what's even more strange is that her house was immaculate and spotless, which was unusual because her family claims Fiona would always have some sort of mess lying around. Fiona's neighbors reported that numerous black bin bags appeared outside of her house days after her disappearance, but they were gone by the time she was reported missing. Several weeks later, a local farmer comes forward to Gardai claiming that those black bags appeared on his property, but he burned them due to believing this was the result of fly tipping. And if you don't know what fly tipping is, it's basically the deliberate dumping of rubbish in an unauthorized place, which a lot of people do that, actually. 2005, Gardai upgraded her missing case to a murder inquiry.
Deidre Jacob, she was born on October 14, 1979, to Michael and Bernadette Jacob. Deidre was a student teacher at St. Mary's University in Twickenham, London. Deidre was last seen at 3 p.m. on July 28, 1998. She had gone to the Newbridge branch of Allied Irish Banks to get a bank draft. She then went to the post office to post the bank draft and then visited her grandmother, who owned a shop. The last sighting was close to her house on Barrettstown Road. She just vanished without a trace, as she was only yards away from her house. She was wearing a dark t-shirt, white shoes, and carried a black bag with a yellow caterpillar incorporate on it, and that was never recovered. In 2018, Gardai reclassifies the case as a murder inquiry due to new information and a review of the case.
It seems like a... oh my god, my voice. It seems like a pattern of them, eventually later on going to change them from being a missing persons case to a murder case. I think it's kind of interesting because, a lot of times here, a lot of missing cases are left as missing cases until an actual body is found. So,
yeah,
I think
it is interesting. Well, and it's interesting how it's years later, granted, our technology is a lot better, but it's 20 plus years.
Well, I mean, now,
yeah.
Old cases from back then with our technology now, a lot of them have been solved. So,
yeah.
The Zodiac.
Or they find new information, yeah.
Yeah, the Zodiac Killer, for example, they kind of deem it solved-ish per, some DNA that they were able to test now, but it's also still open, so,
yeah.
I don't know, but it's kind of crazy. And then, of course, John Bonet, that kind of thing, with new DNA, they were able to actually catch your killer. So,
yep.
Yeah. Obviously, it's worth mentioning the other women that went missing because they are just as important as these 6 other women. So Priscilla Clark, who's 25 at the time, went missing on May 3rd, 1998. Eva Brennan, 39 at the time, went missing on July 25th, 1993. Imelda Keenan, 22, January 3rd, 1994. Catherine Kate Madigan, who was 35, went missing on May 14th, 1998. Now, the last 3 women, they actually found them murdered, but they never caught the killer. And Antoinette Angie Green Smith, 27, July 12th, 1987, was found murdered, and she was found raped and strangled, which is awful. I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
No.
What's even gonna get stranger is Patricia Moriarty Dowdery, 29, died December 23rd, 1991. She was murdered, but she was only found strangled. She wasn't raped, like the first victim was. And same with Marie Kilmartin, who was 35 and died on December 16th, 1993. She was murdered and found just strangled. So it seems like there's like a kind of pattern here, maybe, possibly.
Yeah.
And like the earliest victim was in 1987 and she was raped and strangled. But then the next 2 victims were just strangled, so.
Yeah, it could also be a pair of killers.
Yeah, it could be multiple killers actually who were just killing kind of in the same area. It could also been a network of killers, which is kind of scary to think about, but it do be happening, my guy. Killers do like to be connected with other killers, which is
Yep, it's fucked up.
It's very fucked up. How fucked up is fucked up? That's fucked up.
Yeah. On to your favorite part, Reddit comments. So this by Unique and Weird was watching the Sky documentary about the poor woman that went missing over 30 years ago and can't believe it's been that long. Barilla 3113. If Larry Murphy killed them all, he's a chief suspect in 2 because he was actually in the area at the time. There's nothing linking him to the area in the other cases, and there are more likely suspects in 3 of the cases. When you actually look at the cases on their own, the idea it was a single killer becomes quite farcical.
Guilty.
All I have to say.
Yeah, guilty.
Gail131_. I remember a couple years ago it was being reported that the Garda believed Annie never actually got the bus in nursery and that she was killed in the Sandy Mount area. That seemed to have been totally left out of all the documentaries and podcasts about her. Yeah, that's interesting because if she was killed somewhere else versus where they thought she was, that means they've been looking in the wrong area the whole time.
Yep.
Shows that, yeah, that's very interesting.
Psychiatric War 30. Well, after falling down the Wikipedia rabbit hole and had some good article reading, it'd be hard to know if it would have been the same individual, but really bizarre in the east of the country. In some cases, a few months apart, these women just vanished. For some of them, it's just without a trace, little to no evidence. Sadly, if there was a perpetrator, they're probably long gone or on the way out now. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, they were probably in their 30s to 40s, and it's been like 20-ish years. So, almost 30, actually.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, they could still be alive, realistically.
Right.
But
they might be kind of old.
Yeah, they'd probably be a little too old to kill now.
Yeah.
Janie_Mac, like mac and cheese. If you watch the documentary, you'll know that for 3 of them, they know who did it, but they can't prove it, and Larry Murphy isn't the main suspect. The other 3 have confessed. He has confessed to doing it, but knows they can't get him without a body, yet they may have found the burial site. There's also a 4th that he may be involved in. Yeah, I mean, they can't really charge him if they don't have evidence. They can try with, like, circumstantial evidence, but I've seen where a lot of times that just doesn't work.
It doesn't work out.
No.
It does, yeah.
But you can't just be accusing anyone of murder here, okay?
You can't.
You gotta have the facts, and if you don't have the facts, unfortunately, you can't prosecute someone. But
yeah,
unless you're fucked up. But let's face it, that's most of America and the police.
True.
But this is Ireland. It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next Reddit post is by Irish Drunkard, and it's Ireland's Vanishing Triangle Wikipedia, which is filled with a bunch of facts. So definitely check out the Wikipedia page, because that's what I mostly went through and just
And we'll post a picture of the map too.
Of course, it's very interesting to look at how close they were and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Baldy Bogman. Okay. I cringe every time I see Ireland's Vanishing Triangle mentioned. It's a huge chunk of the country for a start and probably covers half the population of the state. Also, a number of those cases have very strong suspects well known to the victim. Well, that's true. It's part of a triangle where people went missing, so...
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people don't like it, but it is what it is. Sorry.
Dublin Hitman. Now check out the amount of Asian people missing in Ireland. I was looking the other day from a rumor a neighbor told me about another neighbor that's not been seen in a long time. I couldn't believe the amount of foreigners in general missing in Ireland.
Well, you know, foreigners, to be fair, are easier targets.
Yeah.
Which is so fucked up to say.
It is. Well, in every place, no matter how good it may seem, there's always a bad part.
There's always crime. People are always, there are a lot of sociopaths in our population, so keep that in mind that no matter where you go, there's some sort of crime being committed. Whether it's murder, or robbery, or sex trafficking, or whatever, it's just always gonna be a crime, because there's some fucked up people out there.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's very sad. Broken teeth monkey? Okay, sir. I guess I won't question your username, but broken teeth monkey, how many are victims of Larry Murphy? And Wandering Drew replies, not many. There's 2 that he might have done, but it's quite speculative. Most of the other cases have a local suspect, like an ex-boyfriend, who can't be named for legal reasons. There's one case on that list that is so obviously the ex, I'm not even sure why anyone with a shred of credibility will link it to rest. Well, like I just said, you gotta have facts. You gotta have evidence.
Yeah.
Even if you think the ex did it, you gotta be able to prove it.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's like in the case of Lacey Peterson. Although most of their evidence was kind of circumstantial up until they found Lacey and her unborn baby. Even then, it was still circumstantial because he never confessed. But he got prosecuted for it, so...
Yeah.
And he also did a lot of weird things that just made everyone...
Made him suspicious.
Yeah, he was like... Girl. The red flags were showing everywhere. Not kidding.
Red flag on his forehead.
Bro, he just might as well have been waving that motherfucker all the way he walked, because... Goddamn, bro.
Yeah.
What is wrong with people?
Rain in my brain. The strange disappearance of Annie McCarrick. And then Proco Hotterio. You left out the latest development. The Guardia reportedly are looking into 2 brothers possibly related to the murder of May of last year. One of the brothers reportedly stalked and assaulted Annie before she went missing. The Garda are treating this as a murder, not a disappearance. They are currently building a case against the brothers. I've been following this case closely for years as an American woman who also went to live abroad in Europe. My heart goes out to Annie's family as her father died without knowing what happened to her.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they can build up case.
Figure it out.
Yeah, hopefully they can figure it out. Because it's just sad. Honestly, nobody deserves what these women have been through.
Nope.
Randy F. McDonald. I would be inclined to think the sighting of McCarrick at the bus station taking the 44 is possibly a case of mistaken identity. It does seem as if the sighting of her walking to take a bus may be plausible enough since we know she left, but why? That's the question. Why?
Yeah.
Did she take the bus? Was it somebody else? Why? We don't know. And we can't speak to ghosts, so.
No, we can't.
Nope.
Only in Phasmophobia.
No spooky ghost!
Blonderer, this is the best write-up I've seen of this case. If she was killed locally, I still find it odd she left the groceries out. It would only take a few seconds to put the perishables away. If I was nipping to see someone, even if I thought it was going to be brief. I think I put stuff away. Yeah, it was a little bit weird. She left it out.
Yeah, I'd be putting them groceries away as soon as possible, because, baby, these groceries gotta go somewhere. Not in my kitchen, and their spots in the kitchen.
You don't want the ice cream to melt.
Yeah, that would be like a huge disappointment. I'd be sad.
Yeah, huge mess.
Fuck yeah. Hell yeah. Deleted says, I don't think the perishable being out is odd, depending on a few things. Mainly it is that butter, milk, and eggs are often advised to be used at room temperature, and baking takes about an hour ideally to reach that, but leaving them out longer is not an issue unless you're talking overnight, then milk at least might go over. But if she's only making, say, one batch of cookies or cupcakes or a cake, you would not leave all of your eggs, butter, or milk out, but only the quantity needed for the recipe. If it's all out and she's not baking up a storm, that would be odd to me. And now that I think of it, eggs are not normally stored in the fridge in Ireland. This is mainly something we do here in America. Some folks also keep butter out at room temperature, so I guess I don't know if this was abnormal at all for her, or if it just seems off because many people aren't used to the difference in food quality / storage. Of course, if meat or lettuce or something along those lines was left out, that does not seem safe or healthy and would ping as unusual for me. I don't care. I think it's weird. Why would you leave your fucking butter and eggs out? I want that shit cold. What if I want to make me some eggs?
Even if I have brownies, I just take them out when I'm making the brownies. I don't just...
Bro, what if I want to put butter on my toast? I want that shit cold. I don't want it to be room temperature. You know how awkward room temperature stuff is? Except for water. That's the only exception for me, but... Or dry food, but... Yeah. I think it's weird.
But who drinks room temperature milk?
Only fucking weirdos do. I can tell you that, and that shit probably went bad a long time ago, so they're drinking rotten milk, which is nasty. Girl, you tripping.
Vast around. To me, the later sightings are honest mistakes but have misled the police. In reality, nobody leaves their milk and butter unrefrigerated, even in a hurry. It takes moments to put them in the fridge. What happened started at the home. This is one occasion where I do think the police just assigned their most useless investigator.
Like many cases before, and many cases after. There have been a lot of cases with useless fucking people. I swear to God. I'm tired of it. Can we just at least... I'm not asking for, like, high IQ people, but at least people with common sense. Come on, man.
I see preparation 7160. Europe isn't a single place, and no shelf milk isn't a thing in Ireland.
I think they have bagged milk. If I remember correctly. I think it's the same. I think Canada does too. A lot of places actually have bagged milk. Which I guess I get it. But I like my milk in a carton or a bottle. She does sound like someone True Crime Buff 88. She does sound like someone organized, so just leaving the groceries out like that and not being dressed for the weather is odd, but we cannot dismiss the fact that more than 3 people saw someone who fit her description. Someone gave an update in comments that prior to her disappearance, she was being stalked by a guy. Could both theories be right? Possibly. I don't know.
Yep, possible.
Beats me, man. But to this day, these cases remain unsolved. Whether it was a serial killer at the time or just ironic timing, we hope that one day the mystery of what happened to these women is solved. And hopefully it's thanks to the hands of technology. Thank you for listening to another Murder Mysteries and More episode. Join us for another exciting case next week. And as always, remember to be aware of your surroundings. You might end up missing in Ireland.